Domestic abuse is a serious problem in our community. It damages people, traumatises children, and tears families apart. The Domestic Abuse and Civil Proceedings Act Northern Ireland 2021 introduced a new coercive control offence and aggravators to bring domestic abusers to justice and better protect adults and children. Criminal Justice Inspection Northern Ireland was appointed by the Minister of Justice to undertake independent oversight of Part 1 of the Act each year for 7 years. This review is our first report and we look at the implementation and effectiveness of it since it commenced. Lead Inspector Rachel Lindsay will tell you what we found.
The Department of Justice and various criminal justice organisations have made significant efforts individually and collaboratively to implement the Act. They worked closely with victim support organisations to develop comprehensive statutory guidance and conducted awareness campaigns through various media channels, including television adverts and public transport signage. Training on the new legislation was provided to staff by the PSNI, the PPS and the Courts and Tribunals Service, which was very important due to the new and complex nature of the Act. The PSNI showed proactive and effective responses to domestic offences, but some delays occurred in handling emergency and priority incidents. While prosecution decision-making was generally sound, there was need for better documentation within prosecution case files. Review fieldwork indicated a need for enhanced collaboration and communication between police officers and prosecutors to maximise the use of the Act's provisions, including in relation to the use of the domestic abuse offence. A cultural change within policing and prosecution is essential to adapt to the new domestic abuse offence, focusing on patterns of abusive behaviour rather than individual incidents. The Act placed greater emphasis on the impact of domestic abuse on children, addressed through the sharing of information with education providers called Operation Encompass and the use of child aggravators. However, there remains room for improvement across organisations in addressing children's needs and utilising aggravators effectively to protect them from harm. Despite the availability of new provisions for legal aid in civil proceedings for domestic abuse victims, there have been few applications, prompting ongoing awareness-raising efforts by the Department of Justice and its partners. We have made 2 strategic recommendations and 9 operational recommendations for improvement.
Thanks, Rachel. The Department of Justice and criminal justice organisations have invested resources in making us all more aware about domestic abuse and preparing for the implementation of this important legislation. It's vital that it's utilised as the Northern Ireland Assembly intended and victims deserve. They must collaborate effectively on these recommendations, especially where joint efforts are needed to better safeguard victims and hold perpetrators accountable. We're coming back next year to evaluate progress, and we hope to see better implementation and effective use of the Act to stop domestic abuse in our communities and homes.